All right, cool. So we are recording. So we are here with Patrice Moore at Mothers Illuminated, and she is amazing. So I am so excited to have her here. I don't even know how old you are, but you are very young, and you're making boatloads of money, which is amazing. And you work with people who are making boatloads of money as a copywriter and funnel builder and all that really cool stuff. So I'd love to hear you kind of talk a little bit about what you do and how you got there.
Geez, yeah. It's funny, I've only really been doing this a year, almost exactly now. So it's May 15th. This month last year, I was negative $1,400 because I had just kind of found school and tried to start a business. And I was 22 at the time, and I was on business number like 4. So from the time I was 19 to 22, I was just trying for things, drop shipping. I was in an MLM for a while. I tried every different kind of school community. I even looked into being a personal trainer because my mom's a personal trainer. So I was literally like exploring everything. And what that leads to is a lot of money lost and like zero progress because you're always jumping around. But I actually was at the point where I was just like, I need to figure this out. And I didn't really know how, but I knew that I wasn't around people that were doing what I wanted. So the only way that I figured I could get around the right people was if I paid somebody. I didn't want to ask any favors. And so I was like, I don't know, there's this app, I forget what it's called, but maybe you've heard of it, where you can like Cameo, I think it is. You can pay a celebrity or somebody. I was looking on Cameo for like, how can I talk to Alex Hormozi or like, I didn't even know who Sam was, but just basically looking up people I'd heard on podcasts. And so I wound up finding school. Thank God, because Cameo would have been a wreck. Probably it would have been like a shout out or something.
Right.
But I found school. I joined a 999 program straight off the bat, one of the first communities I joined, and that was Ted Carr's community. So he's one of the first people that invested in school and started using the platform. And it just so happened that month he needed a copywriter, and he shot me a message 1 week after joining his program and asked if I knew how to write. That was it. It was, Patrice, do you know how to write? And he could ask me anything and I would have figured it out. I would have been like, yeah, do you know how to build a skyscraper? Absolutely. I would have just figured it out, watched a YouTube video. But I was like, yeah, I can do this. And went and watched like maybe 3 YouTube videos and was like, okay, this seems like easy enough. Turns out it was a massive project. So it was 200 pages I wrote in 30 days. But that was kind of the start. It wasn't really the start of me looking at copywriting as a business, but it was like the first project. So then by May, I was still kind of fooling around, trying different things. And I was like, you know what? I did this project for Ted, made $2,000 from that. Let me just see if I can do a couple more projects. And at the very least, move out of my parents' house because I was living in my childhood bedroom, and I was just like so sick of that. I love my family. They're amazing. But I was like, I need to get out of here. And so, that's when I started taking it seriously and like actually looking for clients and like putting the work in to do some warm outreach, go to events, reach out to people, and sign some pretty cool people straight off the bat.
That's amazing. So what would you say? Because it almost sounds like there's definitely a little bit of luck in there. That's the fact that you happened to join right when, he needed that. And the fact that he even reached out to you amongst all the other people that probably joined his community. Did you ever find out why he reached out to you specifically?
No idea. It's like, it's 100% luck, but it's also just like everyone's lucky if you're in the place at the right time. And the only way you're ever going to be in the right place at the right time is if you're consistently putting yourself in different places and like you're open to opportunity. And so there's so many times I was in the wrong place or I was in the right place at the wrong time. And there's so many things I invested money into, programs, events that didn't turn into anything. And it just so happened that like I kept doing it long enough that I got lucky. But I mean, like it was probably something to do with the fact that I joined his program and I was like the brokest person there and also the youngest person. I don't know what I was doing, and he just felt bad for me. That because I never would have done copywriting if it wasn't for him. I never would have even I thought it was just some broke freelancer type gig thing, and that you could scale it. And so I was like, I wasn't even interested. It was like in the same category of SMMA, which I had just gotten out of, and I was just like, get me away. But yeah, so there was definitely a component of luck, but I mean, everyone's dealt the same amount of
Yeah.
luck, in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a lot like, you have to be willing to put yourself in the opportunities, to be able to get those different things happening. And
Yeah.
I think that's definitely like you were the one that made the decision to actually purchase his program, which puts you in contact with these different people, which opened the opportunity for maybe someone would randomly reach out to you, maybe some connection would work out.
Yeah.
So I definitely a combination, right? It's like a combination of are you willing to keep putting in the effort to have the opportunities and then seize them when they happen.
100%.
But
So much like blind faith. Like
Mhm.
I think that's like what business, like if you boil it down, that's the payoff is like the people that are willing to just put the work in without any idea of like if it's going to work out, how it's going to work out, what's actually going to make them money, but they just keep doing it. And like that's the degree to which you keep doing that is the degree to which you win. And
Mhm.
I mean, I have so many more recent examples of that, like because I just like it's been such an interesting kind of ebb and flow. Like if you're in business for a couple of years, you've experienced the like really like great highs,
Mhm.
and maybe something that like just works out and there's this ripple effect. But then like a couple months later, you've got to get momentum going again, or
Yeah.
and like so I've experienced that now, and it's a consistent thing that like doing the work without any idea of how it's actually going to pan out is just the common thread across successful people. And
Mm.
so like it's the most frustrating thing, but it's also the reason we do it. It's like because if you knew it
Yeah.
was out, if I knew that mastermind was the thing that was going to sign my first client and lead me to win the school games and do all these other things, it wouldn't be fun. So like
Yeah.
not done anything else and just waited for that, and then it would have kind of probably been a letdown, to be honest. So it's the fact that you don't know when your big break is going to be, and not that
Mhm.
that was my big break, but like you don't know when that little stroke of luck is going to hit, and so that's
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And you said you messed around with some of the MLMs and different things. And I think that's something that's really common with entrepreneurship. But also I feel especially the MLMs are super common with women entrepreneurs or mompreneurs. Like I
oh
see
yeah
it so often. And I think it's funny to me because I talk to so many moms and some of them they want to just make a few extra bucks to help pay the bills. And some of them are really trying to completely transform their life, right? And really going for the big money. And so I've seen a lot of people that they do like these MLMs and they make a few hundred extra bucks a month, if they're lucky, and they're able to help pay some bills. And I almost always want to be like, if you're having luck with that, like imagine how much more luck you'd have if you just channeled all of that energy and
yeah
work into something else that actually was like a really solid offer that's high ticket and, all of those things.
yeah
Um, so what was kind of your experience like with doing the MLMs and especially now that like you're a copywriter, like why do you feel like you weren't successful in those things?
I actually it's like it's easy to hate on them because obviously
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a cult mentality with it, which is the one thing I'll give them like a little bit of like they kind of make you think that like there's not an alternative way to be successful,
Mhm.
which obviously that's wrong. But
Yeah.
to give them credit, there's some like that was the best experience that like introduced me to entrepreneurship, built my
Mhm.
confidence. I was the kind of person that like would hide from like going
Mm.
to lunch. I sat in the nurse's office and would pretend to be sick so I could eat lunch like in the nurse's office.
Yeah.
Or college, like I ate lunch in my car. Like I just was so shy. And at 19, during COVID, I was approached by someone. That's how I got introduced to the MLM. And honestly, like it was exactly what I needed to build my confidence.
Mm.
I learned sales, and I was actually relatively successful with the MLM. So I built a whole sales team. I was able to scale it, and I was like doing pretty well. And it was just the fact that like I happened to listen to a podcast, and that was almost like against the rules. Like you just listen to their content. I
Yeah.
and I started to kind of branch out my like the sphere of influence that I was in. And I just
Mhm.
realized the bigger things I wanted to do and the people that I was looking up to in that program were no longer at the level that I could aspire to be at anymore. Like they hadn't hit
Mm.
the level that I wanted to hit. So I was just, common sense, like don't follow someone that's not in the place you want to be.
Yeah.
And so, but I even like brought that up with some of the, the mentor that I had in that group. And she was like, totally makes sense. Like there's probably something
Yeah.
else to do in order to get to that level then. And so to their credit, they were really, really good. I learned so much. And the sales training in that program, and not, the MLM that I was working with is Amway, which is like one of the biggest
Mhm.
ones. I had no idea it was an MLM when I joined,
Yeah.
but credit, their sales training is like some of the best sales training out there.
Wow.
So yeah, really, really good. I'm so glad that like I went through that phase. I kind of wish I could have like condensed it because it was like 3 years almost that I was,
Mhm.
it was like 19 to like 21 and a half or so. So probably could have learned that lesson a little quicker, but it was honestly, it was so good. So yeah,
That was
really,
sort of like your first taste into entrepreneurship in a way, right? And you're like, "Oh, this is interesting and cool. How can I do this on a much higher level?"
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like I look at that group now and like this, the skill set that you develop is so
Yeah.
good, like with sales, communication, all of that. And it's exactly what you said. Like if you were just to take that work ethic and that skill set and apply it to another business model, like, oh my gosh, you could scale so
Yeah.
much. The people I was learning from were making a couple hundred grand a year, which is awesome. But
Mhm.
like that was like those were like the heroes. And I'm like, now
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, like we look at school and like that's what people make a month.
Right, yeah.
Those are our now. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're really limited just by like the people in your circle sometimes. And yeah, I think it was like a really good experience. I wouldn't take any of it back, and really grateful. It was like another kind of like lucky type of thing.
Mhm.
That, you know, when you're open to opportunity and those strokes of luck cross your path, you take
Mhm.
action on them. They cross everyone's path. Some people take action, some people don't. And I think like you have to be ready to evolve at any point. And like at some
Mhm.
point, I might be like, you know what, school's not the platform anymore. I need to go somewhere different. I need to go somewhere bigger. I need to get around bigger
Yeah.
minds. And just having that adaptability always in the back of your mind that like you're not married to any business model or any offer or any, you know, avatar.
Mhm.
You're always evolving. I think that's crucial in order to grow in business because your brain's just like limited by what you've seen so far. And so if you're not open to new information and new influence, then you're going to always stay in that bubble. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest things I've learned from like the different business circles and mentors that I've had just in the last like even just the last 12 months. Like
Mhm.
you can grow so fast that like you outgrow a mentor in like a couple months. And
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I love that, and I've seen that a lot on school. I think it's really cool that, like, one of the things that I think is really cool about school is you connect to so many different people so quickly and easily.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't seen, like, even on other social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram or, LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. Like, none of them have the same vibes that school has, and it almost feels like, you go to YouTube. Some people obviously use YouTube for entertainment. I guess us entrepreneurs are weird and we use it for education, but it's like I almost feel like school is like the community version of YouTube. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you go to YouTube to learn skills and learn these things, but you also do that with school, but you do it in a community setting. So it's
Yeah.
really cool, like the way that it's set up. I really love it. So now you're on school. You've worked with Ted Carr. You've done his book, right? You created his book. So now what happened? What kind of
Yeah.
happened next?
Okay. I think I started about like 3 or 4 communities in the time frame of like February when I started working on the book to May of last year. And that was part of the reason why I lost money. I started a really stupid community trying to cure procrastination. It was called the Procrastination Cure.
Yeah.
Got it. You're inevitably going to have a target market that does not want to take action. So
Yes.
now as a copywriter, I can see. Lost money on that because I was partnered with somebody else. All the money went to them. I did all the sales. So I really honed in my sales skill set in a different
Mm,
business model, which is awesome. And I was so pissed at the end of that month or like mid-May
mhm.
because this other business partner I had was doing absolutely nothing. He was running another business, making a ton of money, and I was selling all this stuff that was going straight to his bank account. And I was pissed. So I was like, how can I make money? I made 2K with Ted. Let me just do that again. And I had been doing a podcast, just a very small, basically just like getting together with these entrepreneurs that I found starting on Fiverr. Actually, it was really funny. Fiverr, and then this local business event that I would go to of
Mhm.
like 10 people. And I just would ask people like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? Love your story. Would love to share it with my audience, which was 100 subscribers. But I
Mhm.
thought like, maybe that would go viral and then I could just podcast for a living.
Yeah.
So I was doing that on the side with no offer. But when I like got to May and I was like thinking about how can I make money? How can I move out? I was just so pissed that this guy was making all this money and I was just basically like doing all the work. And so I reached out to every single person that had been on my podcast. Some of them were big entrepreneurs, some of them were small. A couple exited founders that were really, really like successful. And because I built that relationship with them and I had no offer, I genuinely was just like wanted to capture their story and share it with the world. There's a lot of goodwill. And so I basically just pitched, like, I was like, I'm doing some copywriting. I've done XYZ. I've got XYZ open rates, which is just to my own email list. But they didn't know. But then I was like, I'm like, if you happen to know of anyone who needs a copywriter, I'm taking out a few clients, happy to write some content for free for them. Obviously, like, I'm new, but I'm obviously, or I would say something along the lines of like, I'm new, but that's all the more reason that like I have something to prove. And so I'll write free content and blah, blah, blah. And that worked really well. So I sent like 45, 50 warm emails out and got a really good reply rate. I don't know maybe like 30%, 40%. And started just signing clients. So that was end of May. I was getting on sales calls and my goal was to make 10K before I would move out. So 10K a month was like the minimum. I was like, once I hit that, then I'll move out. And I just needed like some urgency. So June rolls around and I was simultaneously really active on school because I wanted to hit level 7. And at the time, level 7, you could go visit HQ. So one of my friends on the platform like dared me to hit level 7 and we both go to HQ. And so I just started posting and commenting everywhere. So now my name started to get known on school because I was really active and I didn't want to post garbage. So I was just posting like actual lessons, things from like sales calls I was learning. And I built enough of a network through school because I was so active in the communities that I wound up getting, like, I got invited to go to HQ. I hit level 7 at the same time, but I got invited. Right? I started working with this guy, Goose, who you may be familiar with, Goose Dunleavy. So he found out I wrote a book for TED. All of a sudden, he wanted a book. So I signed.
Fear of missing out. He's like, hey, TED has that. I want that.
Well, we had actually met through TED's like mastermind. So he was in TED's 999. And so we already had that connection. We already kind of knew each other. And he had been on my podcast. So another podcast guest turned into a client. And so I hadn't made 10K yet, but I'd gotten 10K worth of people lined up, like on sales calls, committed to signing some sort of contract. And so I just booked a flight with no actual income, but like the idea that I was going to make 10K. And and so June, first week I move out, I'm staying in Airbnbs. And by the end of that month, I think I was taking like 2 sales calls a day or something and like just grinding with like the actual copy, building a portfolio, but mostly just putting my time into being active on school. And I hit 10K in June. So that was cool. And then because I was working with Goose, who ran the school games at the time, I got to go to school games. So I was just there because I was writing copy for him and documenting this process, writing his book. But that opened up a whole new floodgate, obviously, because these are all school games winners. I'm like one of the most active people on school and one of the only like known copywriters on school, even though I'm totally in this world, have no idea what I'm doing. Don't even know how to like segment an email list or like write an ad, how to run ads. I'm so new to it, but every single time like someone would come to me with a project, I was just like, yeah, I can do this. YouTube.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
YouTube.
And I was putting everything back into coaching as well. So everything I was making, I was reinvesting to work with TED, and I was in Max's group. And then first school games, I met Max Pearson, and then Max became a client. So then obviously that was like a huge thing. But yeah, that was the big moments that got it started. So that was June. July, I kind of just like plateaued a bit. Like I was just working with the clients I had one client out, and I signed this guy, Ryan Schroek, who was a school games winner who I'd met at the event. Because when I was going to these events, it was like the same mindset as my podcast. I was going to learn from people, not to pitch anything. So while I was a copywriter and I had an offer that potentially all these people were leads for, I never brought it up ever. So they had to bring it up in order for me to ever talk about it. And the power behind that is like when someone else asks a question, they're really curious and they want to hear an answer. Whereas if you introduce yourself and you're like, hey, I'm a copywriter. What's your business? They're like, oh, I'm about to get pitched to. So immediately they're up in their brain. But I never did that. I never pitched. I never was like at an event with the angle of like, let me get a client. So what would happen is then after the event, people would reach out to me if they actually needed it. And it was like an immediate close. So my close rate was like 80, 90% because
Yeah.
they're all reaching out to me. So they already need the thing. So yeah. And then August, I flew home. So I wasn't really officially moved out. I was just living out of Airbnbs.
Mhm.
It's funny because I still am just living out of Airbnbs.
That's the way to do it, seriously.
You've got nothing tying you down. It gets exhausting, like moving all the time. But yeah, then August, I flew home July 29th, and I was in the car. My brother picked me up from the airport. I was driving home, telling him the updates about business. And honestly, like after July, I hadn't really done anything insane. June was super exciting because I hit 10K and it was just buzz. And I got to go on School Stories podcast. It was fun.
Mhm.
But then August, I remember just like driving home, telling him about all that and just being like, dang, like I missed that. Like that was so fun.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking, I was like, I really want to go back to the school games. Like, how am I going to do that? I can't just keep getting these free invites. And so it's July 29th. And I just like, I remember driving and I was like, would you want to like help me go for the school games and be a part of that? And he was like, he didn't really know what it was. He was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I was like,
Yeah.
we're going for the school games. And so I was like super excited. I think after the first week, he like stopped. He didn't care. Like he was done. But I was excited. And so that was the school games month. That was the start of that. But yeah, I feel like I just rambled through that. It was like the whole summer where a lot of the momentum was built.
Yeah. Well, that's that, you got to the great spot, which is like the school games. And so you've won the school games. You've helped so many other people win the school games. So first of all, some people on the show might not actually even be familiar with school, the platform, and the school games and everything. So give us like a quick recap of like what the school games is, and then kind of what you've noticed, like what does it really take to actually win the school games?
Yeah. So there's this like big buzz in February when Alex Ramosi announced that he was investing into school, because Alex has got this huge multi-million, probably like 10 million plus audience across all platforms of just like people that want to be entrepreneurs and a lot of actual entrepreneurs. And so when he joined school, all these people came on and he wanted to incentivize these people to start communities with this kind of competitive spirit. And so obviously he's a big influencer. A lot of big influencers came onto the platform, brought their audiences. And so he created something called the School Games, which is just a monthly competition where there's 10 winners and they are just the biggest communities on the platform essentially that month. And so the way it's measured is who brought the most new MRR that month. So anything you did last month doesn't count. It's just this month to kind of even the playing field across people that have big audiences, new guys, whatever. And you can charge whatever you want, up to $9.99 a month. And so that's how it was back then. And I remember like the first few months, like the first month I joined schools when Ted won the games. So I'm looking at like these people are making like $40,000-$50,000, and like my mind couldn't even comprehend it. Like Max Pearson won that month, he made like 45K. Ted won, I think he made almost 50K. It's just like crazy numbers. I hadn't even made $1,000 online or in business, and so like or in online business. I'd made it through the MLM, but like that doesn't really count. It was like crazy to comprehend that. And so after the summer, I'd worked with enough school games winners. I'd talked to enough that I was like, when you connect with people and you realize they're just human and there's nothing special about them. A lot of them were also brand new to business and had never done anything in the online space. I just realized like, okay, like how hard is this? Like I can probably do it. But yeah, like it's that's kind of like the recap of the school games, I guess. Just like new MRR, new monthly recurring revenue. It's changed a bit now, but yeah, in my mind, these people were still like heroes. Like they were these really cool, just ultra successful people. Now I look at it and like anybody can win the school games, but like back then, I was like, wow, that's so cool. So August, I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm going to the school games except for like my brother. I might have told my parents. And I was like, until I'm on the leaderboard, the top 10 leaderboard, because it's measured every single day, it updates. I'm not telling anybody. I'm not going to tell Max. I'm not going to tell Ted. I'm not going to tell any of these people that are like mentors of mine, because I wanted to like prove that I could actually do it. That didn't work out so well because I was like, I think halfway through the month, I'd done like 5K. And everyone else on the leaderboard was doing like 15K and like increasing by thousands of dollars every day. And so I wasn't even in the top 20, let alone the top 10.
Yeah.
So August 19th, I got on a call with Max Pearson because Max had helped like at that point over 10 people win the school games. And so when someone was going for the school games and he actually like knew that they had the audience or the offer that they could win with, he would get on a call with them and help them. And so I got on a call. I like admitted that I was going for the school games and I still didn't have anything to show for it. And yeah, he completely like pivoted my mindset. Like he showed me a different way to kind of present my offer and do more done for you. And that was like the craziest week of my life. There's 1 week left. I got on a call the 19th of August. I'd done 8K. I wasn't even in the top 20. And in the next 7 days, I did $21,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It still sounds like absolutely insane. Like,
yeah,
it's insane. So yeah, if I hadn't done that offer from the start, like it would have been crazy. It could have been like
so what was the offer that got you winning?
Yeah, so it was like ridiculous. Like it's basically an offer that I charge 10K for now. But obviously back then, I mean, I was a total beginner, so like rightfully so. But it was $9.99, and you got your school graphics, school about page, a welcome sequence, and I forget, there might have been like a couple bonuses that I threw in for people to get them to sign, and then I gave some people like 50% off. Like I wound up signing, I think 45 clients because some people had like discounts. A couple of them were coaching students still, and oh my gosh, it was insane. I like don't even know what I would do with like 40 clients now. I would be like, at $9.99, like, oh yeah. So yeah, that was the offer.
Wow. So you pivoted your offer. What was it before you changed it?
It was mostly coaching. So the 8K, that was all just me teaching freelancers how to get their first client. So it was like brand new copywriters. Here's how you can like go about your warm outreach. Here's how to build a network, that type of stuff.
And what was the price on that one? Was it still $9.99?
Yeah, same price, $9.99 a month. Yeah.
Nice. So you just changed it to more done for you, which was like, hey, you already kind of have the strategy down. Let me just optimize these different things you're already doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, because TED, the way I learned everything from TED, and TED was all about like high ticket coaching. And so everything I learned about copywriting, I was looking at it through the lens of like, how can I turn this into a coaching program? But throughout that process, obviously my whole network was like school community owners. Like I'm going to school games, I'm connecting with people on school. And so all it took was like 30 minutes of talking to Max, and he's like, okay, so you can either go onto YouTube, and he mapped out a whole game plan of how I could scale the coaching offer. He's like, you can go crazy on YouTube, you can go crazy on school, and you can talk about freelance copywriting all the time and sign coaching students. Or you could just do warm outreach to this massive network that you already have and sell them a done for you offer that they already need for a price that is, ridiculously low for what you're offering.
Yeah.
And probably do it in half the time. And it was just like such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
3 action steps. It was like the simplest thing. And I kept for the entire week winning the games, which felt like a year. But like I looked at it every single morning, like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And I sent 100 looms out. I signed some crazy cool clients that month. I worked with like Steve Oak. I worked with Max, obviously. I signed Ted as a client. Farhoon, like these are all school games winners. I became a client. Like it was crazy that month. And that was really like, I built an awareness. People knew who I was. I had a network, but that month was when like I actually became known on the platform because there wasn't too many women who had won. And I don't think there was any woman who had ever won without like a team.
Yeah.
So, like up until that point, like it was just like, it was a really cool kind of moment. I went to the school games and I was just like, it was just me. Like teams of like 2 or 3 people. And I was just like there. So yeah, it was really cool.
That is really cool. Who is your favorite person to work with?
Oh, Max, for sure.
Max?
Just because it's like, it's actually, I don't know if you want me to get into the details because I feel like I'm just like kind of rambling, but it was a really
If you're able to, yeah, I love it.
But the way that I signed Max as a client is I was at the school games, the first school games event that I ever went to in Vegas. And after the event, they would always take everyone out to dinner. So we'd listen to Alex for 8 hours, and then Sam Evans would take everyone out to dinner. And so we went to this really nice restaurant in like a, high-rise building in Vegas. And we're all sat at these round tables, and, people just kind of go wherever. So I was sat at this table. It was like mostly dudes, if not all dudes. And Matthew Thompson happened to be at that table, and he's a podcaster. So he did the school games podcast. He's this really funny Irish guy, and he's really good at asking questions. He knows how to like dig deep. And he asked me this question. I think he was probably just curious as to why I was there in the first place. Like, who's this girl? But he asked me who my like dream client would be. And I started talking about how like Sam would be the coolest client. So I was just like obsessed with school. And I was like, obviously though, Alex is doing his marketing. He doesn't need a copywriter. There's not really much is going on in the marketing department besides Alex. So I was like, second best would be Max, because Max is also just promoting school and teaching people how to build school communities. And I just like ranted for like 5 minutes about how cool I thought Max Pearson was. And then like I realized like after going on and on about how like I'd been in Max's community and I watched his videos and he's teaching people this and I could just write this, blah, blah, blah. I realized the guy sitting next to Matthew Thompson is one of Max's coaches on his team.
Oh, nice.
I was like immediately so embarrassed. Like, this is going to go back to Max somehow. It's like, it sounds like I'm pitching or something because he's at the table. I was so embarrassed. Matthew just turns to this guy and he's like, we've got to introduce her because Max is like, Max is here, right? And I was like, no, like I still get chills because I was so scared. I was like, God, like I can't. And but they didn't care. They went and they got Max. They brought him over to the table. So I'm like, frick, what do I do? And so I invite Max to be on my podcast because I'm like freaking out and like totally like my brain just went blank. That's like a hero he was to me. And I asked him to be on my podcast, and I was like, Dan is the coach that was at the table, told me that they were working on some LinkedIn and some Twitter stuff. And I was like, I'd love to help with like LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm a copywriter. Like if you need it, would be happy to write some free content. And it was literally just like, I'll write free content for you type of thing. And he said yes. And I wound up like doing a podcast with him for his channel. And then also he did a podcast for mine. And it was super cool, just connected with his team. It's been such a real, like now I do a coaching call in their community, which has just been like the most epic thing. And I honestly like admire the way he's built his team and his business more than most people I've met through school. I met some amazing people, but like Max is solid with like his values and like the way he looks at business. That was how I got Max as a client. And I wrote content. I think it was like almost 2 or maybe 3 months of me just writing for free. So I actually signed him as a paying client for the school games. So
I love it. And I love that, like that emphasis of you did work for him for free for 2 to 3 months. And I think for a lot of people, they would have, after about a month, started to get itchy. Like, why is this person not hiring me? When am I going to start getting paid for my work? And I love just that emphasis of being like, you do what you got to do to get to the end result eventually. And I think that's like so crucial for business,
Yeah. I'm not even really a big fan of like the whole I'll work for free pitch. So like if you have a valuable offer, just like you should charge like super high. But like I'm all about building relationships. So like as a pitch, I didn't offer very often after I'd signed like a few clients. I didn't usually offer to work for free. But Max or Ted or like some of those people, like they're people I would still work for free for today. Like I'm working on some emails and a webinar project for Max right now. Like I like just the association is like, and the relationship to me, the things I learned just from being a part of the group. And it's one of those things that like, you've got to look at the long term, and some people never can. Some people don't have that mindset. And that's like the biggest struggle I think a lot of people run into, is trying to charge for everything. Like if you do, you're just going to lose out on like what the actual value is, which is the relationship. Like 4 or 5 years from now, when, either you run into a massive wall or you get hit with something, or you run into a massive opportunity and you have somebody in your contact list that you can call and get like the kind of advice that people pay tens of thousands for. But
exactly.
That's so much more valuable. So like, it's crazy. Like I had a whole like plan for my content recently. I was actually going to shut everything down and just kind of go ghost for like 5 years and just build the heck out of like the copywriting business, but not post about it.
Yeah.
And I sat down with Max for like an hour and we just like broke everything down, the, potential profit and loss and different directions I could go with no content, with content, and came up with like a whole new funnel and game plan. And like my business would be totally different if it wasn't for that. And so
Yeah.
you can't predict that stuff. And if you're always looking for a way like that you can make an extra buck, you're going to miss out on the big opportunities. So it's like, yeah, it's just a long-term versus a short-term mindset. Like there's this one girl actually that reached out to me. This is a great example. And she shot me a DM on Instagram. She's active on school. I met her through the games. She's not a school games winner. She just worked with some different people. And she was asking me, she was like, hey, I see you do these coaching calls for Max. And she was like, how much do you charge for that? Or do you charge? Because someone just approached me and I'm trying to figure out how much I should charge. And I was like, I've never even thought about charging for that because
yeah,
it's not because I'm like, oh, like what else can I make, money wise with like this leverage? It's literally just like the relationship. It's just the fact that like associated with the right people is so much more valuable than making like $50 on a call. And like, so I just told her that, but it's like, you can say that, but like the mindset is something you can't really change, of like that hourly rate type mindset. Like it just, it comes from a scarcity standpoint. And like, I did a coaching call for Ted as well for a while. And he actually did have a rate. He asked me to do a coaching call and he's like, I'll pay you $50 for every call you do. And I did calls for like 3 months and I never billed him once. So I just billed him for free, even though he was like, he offered whatever amount, but like, like the relationship's so much more valuable. And you learn so much from teaching that I think everyone should just, like, if that's an opportunity that comes your way to go be like a coach or to go share advice or to go on to, I just did a master class with AI Jack in my community. And like, they know that just builds their brand, that builds their credibility and their authority, and also builds that relationship. So those are things that like you should absolutely just look at as like investments.
Yeah, I love that. And so I think what I'd like to ask next is, there's a lot of moms who are building businesses out of necessity. A lot of them come from this scarcity mindset, right? And it's because they're in a situation where it's like, maybe, we've got a lot more risk, I guess, associated with what we're doing, because it's not like I can go live in my van, and just rough it out. I've got, 4 kids with me. Like I can't, I don't have the option to do that really. So, what would I guess be the recommendation for people in that situation where they don't have the luxury of being able to kind of, I don't want to say be more strategic with their time and everything like that, but where, like I'd love to be able to offer free work with like high level people, to be able to do that. But at the same time, like I need to not, like I don't have the time to be able to just give away free time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I'm against the free offer, because I get that.
Yeah.
Like that, like you need to make money. And that first month, that like month of June when I wanted to move out, I charged everyone. Like I wasn't for free for anybody. And I think you have to like have enough confidence in yourself that you can figure out anything, you can learn anything. And ultimately, like if you just look at the worst case scenario, it's usually not that bad. Unless you're going taking out a crazy loan with some crazy interest and you're going to potentially lose your house. That's just stupid. I don't think most people would like even consider doing that. And you don't need to. That's the cool thing. It's like you can learn everything you need to learn for free. Everything I learned about copywriting, I never had like a copywriting course before starting copywriting. I never even knew. Literally in May of last year, there's in my search history, what is copywriting? Like that I was signing copywriting clients. So it's like, you don't need to spend a bunch of money. You don't need to put yourself in a, a situation where you're desperate. And you need to have enough confidence in yourself that you'll figure it out, even if nothing works out. Even if everyone says no, like there's still going to be someone down the line that's going to say yes. And if you have enough confidence in yourself that like ultimately dumber people than you have tried and figured it out. It's not that hard. Like there's some crazy, like it's very simple in business. It's not easy, but it's very simple to make money. Making 10K is like so simple that it's actually disappointing when you do it. It's like you're like, wow, like I should have figured this out in 5th grade. But like once you do it, then you're like, okay, like what's the next challenge? And I think like if you're in that situation where you're a mom and you've got like responsibilities, you've got like limits on your time, you need to figure out how to like be really, really intentional. Like watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts about people that are just talking motivation is not going to get you anywhere. You need to like be really tactical with the free time that you have, and like learn how to habit stack as well. So maybe you're like, you have built into your routine that you take your kids for a walk, you take them to the park. That's when you're listening to a podcast in one ear, and like, you know, or while you're driving or whatever. Like that's when you're learning about this super niche subject that's gonna help with your coaching or your done for you offer. It's got to be super niche. If you're listening to general business podcasts, I don't even do that. It's a waste of time. Anything that's not actionable is like not something that I'll listen to. So, and like, like there's a like reading books and listening to podcasts, like there's a degree of value you'll get from it. But if you're not taking action on it every day, if you're learning about websites, building websites at night after your kids are asleep, you're not actually learning about anything. And so everything you're learning about has to be like implemented that same day, some way, somehow. You've got to figure out how to put it on paper. And I think that's the biggest thing. And then like having confidence in your prices, whatever you think you charge, like add $500 to it and then charge that. And you'll be surprised, like almost the same amount of people will say yes. And you'll just get paid. And you'll work with people that are way more committed and way more like just hired people. So that's what I would say. Like just put that like timeline on it. Be like, whatever it takes, like back against the wall, I have to figure out how to make 10K this month. Yeah. Like in my mind, like I think one thing that's helped me in entrepreneurship is like, I'm really good at just like creating false urgency, like convincing myself that like I'm broke, that like there is no alternative. I have to sign a client this week. And like, I still do that today. When I'm signing like 10K clients, I'm still doing that. I'm still like, no, I don't know if I can like buy a coffee today. Like, I think I'm spending too much. And like, it still doesn't register, but like that urgency is what like allows you to succeed. And I think like 10K in like 30 days and putting yourself like in a situation where it's like either 10K or nothing, or like maybe it's 5K. Once you hit 5K, you'll be like, okay, that's easy. Let's do 10. Yeah. But like, apply that urgency. Cause like you can't let life just like dictate what the timeline is. If like you've got bills due in like 6 weeks, don't wait 6 weeks to make the money you need to pay the bills. Like, like if your back is against the wall, if like something was going to happen to like your house or your family or your kids, like you would figure out a way. And like in my mind, I tricked myself in June that like I literally thought I was going to like die if I didn't make 10K. Like I was like this or nothing. And then I went and I actually took action on that. So I moved out before I actually had signed those clients, and I had to sign the clients just to be able to like afford to live. So I didn't have kind of urgency. I didn't have the responsibility of taking care of other people. Definitely adds like a different level to it, but you've got to figure out a way to kind of trick yourself into being in that state that you need to be in, the confidence in yourself, the urgency, the timeline, and then like confidence in your offer, the ability to learn. And that's like ultimately what's going to allow you to be successful. It's just your ability to control your own brain and the environment that you think you're in. Because like ultimately you're in an environment of your choosing. Like everything that you're experiencing right now is a result of choices you've made. And everything you're going to experience in the next 10 years is going to be the result of the choices you're making right now. So it's like, you just got to figure out how to harness that and create the environment that you need. And if your environment is like chaos right now, change it. Like maybe you can actually go and like put like a mute button on the kid that's crying, but you can like figure out a way to focus with that. Like it's not that hard to be successful. It's not that hard to make 10K. It's really not. And so like, if there's people out, like some of the people I met at the school games was a reason that I like went for it, because I was like, if they can do it, then I know I can do it, because like it's not that hard. There's really, really just such a diverse amount of people that are able to make it work. So if like they can do it, you can do it. And like, I think people have been doing this for so long. There's so much proof. Just find someone that you look up to, someone that you can relate to. There's so many like moms, there's so many people with like multiple businesses, or like thousands of dollars in debt, or went to zero and like they still figured it out. And I think it's a privilege to be going through hard times, to be going through that stress. It's like I got hit with like some crazy stuff in like the last 2 months, and like the entire time, like obviously there's stress. There's like, people, I had like somebody like, it was like a health issue with the client, and they like wound up sending me this whole like legal notice. They wanted a refund, and I had wired them a refund. And so they were asking their credit card for a refund. They wanted like a double refund essentially. So they wanted to make money off. the work that I'd already done for them. So I'd already delivered the copy and sent them a refund because the lady got sick and couldn't use it. And then they like basically did like whatever you can do, credit card, you claim the money back. And like sent legal letters from lawyer. And I was like, I'd never experienced that. I'd never been sent like a legal notice or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm going through all this. And I'm just like, what a freaking privilege to be able to experience this, to be able to go total stress that like most people would just be like, all right, I'm done. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I'm shutting it down. I can't like, and it wasn't just that, like, it was like that. And then like this and like another one. And then like, you know, this employee messing up and like this client earning, this client saying this, you know, like something going wrong with content and like everything at once. And then like car gets in an accident, like so many things happen in like a 30-day time frame.
Yeah.
Like, what a cool thing to be experiencing what like so many other people will never experience. They'll never be able to even like test how much they never tap into the potential. And so it's just like it's a privilege. If you're stressed, if you have a lot on your plate, it's an absolute privilege that you get to go and test your capacity and see where you're at. Because most people will sit in that stress and always just wonder what they could have done. And like that'll never be me. And that'll be never that anyone that's watching this and actually takes action, that'll never be you. And that's a privilege to be going through that.
Yeah. I love that. And I agree. We can talk off camera about some of the craziness that I've experienced as well. But yeah, I think, you know, entrepreneurship is like you were saying earlier, kind of like an ebb and a flow. It's like you've got good months and then you've got months that are not so great. And I always feel like too, right around either the start or the end of the not so great, you always get hit with like car breaks down, kids are sick, like, you know, this happens, like it's always just pure chaos. And you're like, this is my time to shine, you know, like it's like, how else are you going to think about it, you know?
Yeah. It's honestly, it's a privilege. Like it's super cool. And I think it's also like, not to get like too like spiritual things, but I think like when you're doing anything big, like you're going to be tested. And like when you're really getting hit with a lot, that's probably a sign that there's something big around the corner for you. Yeah. But like there has to be a test to see if you even deserve that. Like if you were to win and you didn't have to work through anything, you didn't have to have any nights where you cried yourself to sleep. You didn't have to, you know, have any days where you're staring at your computer wondering if you're even going to be able to pay rent next month. Like if you didn't have any of those moments, would the win even feel that good? Like I don't think so. Because I think if you look at people that are just inherit their success or their wealth, they're depressed. They don't enjoy it and they can't actually appreciate it the way someone that's fought and scratched and clawed for that wealth has.
Yeah.
So that's why I look at it as a privilege, because it's like you'll appreciate everything that you do and you'll be able to help so many more people with the story that you have. Yeah.
I love that. So I'd love to get a little bit more tactical because obviously you're a copywriter and funnel builder, and I love getting tactical in these calls as well. So give me kind of a breakdown, like what are the most popular funnels that you're seeing right now that are performing really well? And I love to go really deep into it. So as deep as you're comfortable getting for, you know, everybody, kind of some of the tactics that you're using for your clients, for yourself, and things that are working, and kind of projections for what you're expecting 2025 to look like.
Yeah, 100%. What type of offers do you want? Because there's like different funnels that tend to work better for different offers. So what type of offers is your audience looking around?
I think most of them are probably in like the online coach space. Like
high ticket or low ticket?
I'd say probably high ticket.
Okay, sweet. That's like my favorite space. That's what most of my time.
Yeah.
Low ticket right now, it's just like low ticket's fine, but it's going to take forever because you kind of need an audience to do it substantial. But high ticket, the best thing I'm seeing is like YouTube content that's super, super niche, low views, low reach, but really high quality people. And so they're creating YouTube content, sending them to a book a call funnel. From there, there's like a few automations where we retarget people that click that funnel, but maybe don't book a call. Basically, like book a call page is just like headline, subheadline, VSL, book a call, and maybe sometimes there's some case studies below. But like the headline is just whatever promise you're offering, or maybe a case study of delivering that promise to someone else. So like I have one, my headline is like how I made $44,000 for my client. And I think I say how I made $44,000 for Michael, who's my client, in 45 days. And then it's VSL, and then it's the book a call. And like there's a few different variations of that. Like you could do like, you know, want 6-pack abs, without having to go to the gym or like, eliminate your favorite foods, something like that. Like just the promise. And then the VSL is typically like under 10 minutes, and then the book call and all that. And then you capture the leads, because everyone that like clicks that page, you can retarget with ads, or if they go through the funnel, at least to put their information in, you can retarget them with emails. But the people that do book a call, it's just, a one call close. If it's super high ticket, because I used to do a high ticket coaching, I would do a 2-call close. So I do a 15-minute discovery call, vet them to see if they have the income, and then I get them on a long form sales call. That allows you to convert more people, but it's also more time, because there's people that are like unqualified that you would just delete the sales call for if you're just doing a 1-call close because you don't want to waste your time. But if you do 15 minutes, it's pretty easy to commit 15 minutes to even an unqualified lead. And like I sign people from like everywhere in the world for $9.99. Like my first student, I think he was from like Pakistan or something, for $9.99.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Like it's just like there's people everywhere that do qualify, but there's stereotypes and stuff. And like there's a reason for the stereotypes, because most people from that country don't qualify, but some of them do. And if you get on a 15-minute call, you can talk to more people, and you ultimately just close more. It's just like once you get to the point that your calendar's booked, that's when you want to move to a 1-call close. Depends on what your constraint is, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people have success just with one paid community, or like paid and then like a higher ticket mastermind. People without an audience, like oftentimes the best move is to build a free community, because then you can nurture people. People with an audience, it's a waste of time to build a free community. It takes so much time to nurture those leads and like get them on. It's just a waste, honestly. Like the free community is your YouTube channel, it's your Instagram. But if you don't have that, free community is like an easy way to capture leads. And then it's like a 7-day email sequence, warm people up in the free community, get them on a webinar. And then like networking as well. Like a lot of my clients get leads from school, or they get leads from Facebook, or they get leads from other masterminds. They're not just getting leads from like YouTube content, but their main social platform's YouTube. And then they get leads from their like hosting platforms that they're on. So that's like the biggest funnel. I think like even low ticket, a lot of times it's like they're watching a YouTube video, or maybe they're seeing short form content, but usually it's YouTube or an ad, and then they're getting on a webinar, and then they're joining the community, because webinars. So it depends. Like if it is a lower ticket, like I would say anything below $1,000 is like low ticket. Then it's just be like a webinar close. It's much more scalable, and like capture everyone's information after they watch the VSL. So like to get tactical on that, you do not want to like form that they have to sign, that put their name and their email before they can watch the VSL, because they're doing you a favor by watching the VSL. And if you put friction there, they just won't watch. You'll like lose like 40%.
So put the VSL, have an opt-in where they can put in their email address. Then it takes them to a second page where they book the call.
Yeah, like kind of a see if you qualify thing. That's what Max does. So it's like the headline, sub-headline, VSL, and then it's like see if you qualify. And then they can do a short little form which captures their information, adds them as a lead to go high level, where then like a setter can follow up with them. And so they've been added as a lead to go high level before they've even gotten to the book a call page. So if they don't book a call, we can call them and make sure they do. And if they do book a call, obviously we can get on that call if they're qualified. But yeah, you want to have some like simple form that just captures that right before they get to the book a call page, because people that are going to book a call are not going to be deterred by that form. But the people that are going to watch the VSL will be, because like VSL is a lot more people are watching a VSL than are booking a call. So you want to make sure any of those people actually watch through to the end, or at least watch through enough to hit that first CTA, get their information in, and then you can follow up and nurture them on an email sequence, and like ideally with a call as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then so that's so is that something that you would do, like a YouTube video with that in the description? Would you run that as an ad? Which one are you kind of seeing as like the better? Because like obviously ads cost money, but you're guaranteeing the reach, versus on YouTube where maybe you're not getting a whole lot of views. And so it's like typically a longer form or long-term strategy.
Yeah, it's a good question, because I feel like people do look at ads as like a more guaranteed approach. But like in my experience, it's like it's just as risky with ads, because you can guarantee reach, but you can't guarantee calls booked or guarantee quality of reach. I don't run any ads, and like most of my clients don't. some of them run like Max runs retargeting ads. I think that makes sense. Like I was talking
Yeah.
about, people click your landing page, but maybe they don't even like submit the form. Maybe they don't even finish the VSL, but they click, and you can capture those clicks. Then you can retarget them with ads. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All the metapixel into the page and everything. That makes sense to me. Running cold ads is a waste of money. I don't think anyone that's new to coaching should do that. I don't think you should do that until you have like money to just burn. And you just want to take over the market because you're like just making way too much money. I don't know if I'll ever run cold ads. Like unless I like create a product like, you know, Apple, like that everyone wants. Like it just doesn't make sense. I think YouTube, you're like pretty much guaranteed if you post 10 videos, you're gonna get a call booked. Like if they're the right kind of videos, and like to break that down, right kind of videos are like how to do this. Like if you're a coach that helps women lose 5 pounds and build muscle, it's like how to eat the right meals to lose 5 pounds in X time frame, or my favorite workout to start seeing abs in 6 weeks, or how I work out without, you know, sacrificing time with my kids or something. Like your titles need to be super niche. There's even like more niche ones than that. Like I'm not a fitness expert, but I can give copywriting examples. And I make videos like how to write a school about page, or best styles of posting to get leads organically from school. Like how to run auto DMs on school. Stuff like that. Like it's so niche that like it might only get 200 views. But those 200 views are quality people because they clicked a title that's so freaking niche that they're all quality leads. And so like if you post, I don't have a lot of subscribers. Like I made 20K from YouTube before I even had 1,000 subscribers. So like all you need is a couple hundred views, which are pretty much guaranteed if you post 10 videos. I'll post them all in the same day, otherwise you'll burn the algorithm and then I can't do anything. I had a comment that and it was absolute chaos. He just like none of his videos got promoted after that. He'd get 2 views. So yeah, you don't want to do that. Post them with like a couple days in between, but like start off, just post 3 a week. Like I literally, this is how I would film. I would take my phone. I'd be traveling. I'd be walking around. I'd be sat at like a picnic table outside school HQ, like wherever the heck I was. I would just grab my phone with like a microphone or not, and I would just talk to it. And I would talk about how I got my first client or how I made 5K with copywriting. And those work so well because they're raw, they're authentic, and at the end of the day, fancy videos, edited videos, good audio, none of it matters because your ideal client is going to watch that video because they're actually interested. It will get less views if it's not edited, for sure. If it's not high quality, it will get less views, less reach, but the same quality leads will still do it. So you might have 10 quality leads on 1,000 view video. Those same 10 leads would have watched like 100 view video. So the difference. Like my videos, I had a like really funny video a couple days ago where I like asked the audience, this is like a couple weeks ago, I asked them if they wanted more edited content or more raw. And this was a super raw video. I was literally just like sat on a couch. And everyone in the comments, I think every comment except one was like more edited, like it feels more professional, easier to watch, more exciting, more entertaining. All the comments said that. I was like, okay, maybe I'll start doing more edited. And then I looked at like the calls that I got booked, and all like the calls from that video, there was way more sales than like my previously edited videos. So like, I don't care what they say because those are not the people that are buying my stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, edited videos get you reach. Unedited videos are just easier. It's not that your quality audience doesn't watch the edited. It's just that like they're easier for you. So like as a busy mom, or even just like if you're working a 9 to 5 or whatever, you want to eliminate all the friction from you posting content. When you're getting started, it's going to take a lot of content to get those first initial sales, but you can either spread that like a lot of content over 6 months, or you can condense it into 3 weeks, which is what I did when I was like, ramping up for the school games. I just posted a crazy amount of content because even 8K for me like was kind of insane to do in like. So yeah, that was like I was posting content like every 2 days on YouTube, and they were 4 or 5 minute, 10-minute videos. The first video I ever went viral with was like a Zoom call recording. So like I think I've said this on coaching calls, like the hook is like, can you guys hear me? So bad. But yeah, like super, super easy to just like record something on your phone in your car, or like on a walk at the park, in your bedroom, Like I have so many videos where they're like, I just put my phone in the windowsill and I just like stood and talked to it. Those
Yeah.
videos rush. So yeah.
Love that. Less friction makes it easy for us busy moms.
Yeah, you'll feel.
Um, yeah. So you're working with all these different people. So those are the funnels that are working. So let's kind of go into some copywriting, right? I'd love to know a little bit about, first of all, what are some of the questions that you ask clients, or kind of how do you identify how to speak to their audience? Because I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things that, I hear from a lot of moms out there, which is like, or even just people in general, like how do you know how to speak to that specific audience that you're trying to attract?
Yeah. It's like honestly, it's part of like the process with like my copywriting clients is like actually figuring out what is this offer. Because a lot of times the client
Mhm.
or like the client who's running their own business doesn't even really know their audience very well.
Mhm.
So like obviously the bigger clients do, like Max knows his audience very well. But like that's step one is like actually making sure we've got a good offer. And then like some of the questions I'll ask that really allow me to determine if it is a good offer is like, what are the emotional drivers that your
Mhm.
audience has towards accomplishing this? What are potential like competitors you have? So I can go and research that. Um, I'll ask them like, what's the actual outcome that they get by going through your course or your product?
Mhm.
And that has to be something I can measure. It can't be more confidence. It can't be
Mhm.
like feeling better, or being more beautiful, or um, being your best self. I hear that all the time, and it
Yeah.
actually makes me angry now. But like,
Yeah.
it's those common beginner mistakes. I did my first community was just like be more successful. Basically, it was so vague.
Mhm.
And like the problem with those offers is you can't actually write to that audience because it's something everyone wants, but no one can
Yeah.
measure it. So the first thing is like get a quantifiable end result. So
Mhm.
10 pounds less, a six pack in 6 weeks,
Mm.
$10,000 in the bank account, save $2,500 a month. There's so many things. You can take any offer and figure out a way to make it quantifiable. And that's the
Mhm.
biggest question with copywriting is like, what is that end result? What's the promise that these customers want? Because that's what we're going to talk about in all the marketing. It's always the
Yeah.
promise, not the process, not the ab workouts they've got to do, not the food they've got to eat, not like the gym sessions or, all that stuff. That's the process. But what they
Mhm.
want is a six pack. And so we
Mhm.
sell them the vacation. And that's the biggest question. And every other question I ask my clients revolves around that. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
what is their emotional driver to want to have a six pack? Is it like they want to get more dates? Is it they want to look good in a bikini? Is it they want to impress their friends? They want to impress their husband? They want to feel like more confident in the gym? Like, what are the emotional things? That's the vague part. And that's fine to be vague with the emotional drivers. So we're going to write to that. We're going to talk about status. We're going to talk about
Mhm.
how their husband thinks or their boyfriend thinks of that. We're going to talk about at the beach, how do you feel? We're going to talk about the size of their clothing or whatever. Like, then we start talking about that stuff that's like an emotional driver. And that's like a lot of the questions. And then they get tactical with like, what are the like concrete deliverables we're giving to these people? What's the
Mhm.
process? What's that stuff? Just that I know sort of like the components that make this offer a good offer, the
Mhm.
ingredients go into the process. Um, I'm trying to think if there's like other like there's probably like about 20 questions I send to every new client that I onboard.
Mhm.
But they all revolve around that end result. And it's a good clarity kind of workshop. Maybe I'll send it to you. You could like post it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about that end result. It's all like how much they want this, how much money have they invested into this, what are other methods they've tried, what are like when you dig into that, then you can figure out what the actual reason people want it
Mhm.
is. Anything with copywriting, when you're trying to persuade someone of something, you have to get in their head, which
Mhm.
is great to say because like every business guru says that, but like you have to actually be able to put yourself in their shoes and
Mhm.
think through the lens of like, why would they want this? Why
Mhm.
would they not want this? Why would they doubt what I'm telling them? Why would they believe maybe this is too good to be true? Or why would
Mhm.
they think like, oh, this isn't going to actually get me there? What's going to maybe make them confident in you and make them less confident? How can we address those things and like take them off the table so that by the time they book a call, they're already sold? And
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
how like I think about it is like, how do I get in the head? So like when I'm writing an email and people are reading it, they feel like I'm reading their mind.
Yeah.
That's
I love that. And it's so true. Like just knowing your avatar, I think is so important. And that's something that so many people struggle with. I did ask in my paid membership, I asked people, I let them know that I was going to be doing this interview and had them put in some questions that they wanted me to ask. And one of the questions was like, what's the biggest thing that you focus on when you're writing copy? And I feel like that's probably the answer is like, getting into your avatar's head. But I'd like you to kind of elaborate on like why that's so important. I think we kind of just hit on that, but if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Absolutely. I think the main thing is just like what's reasons they wouldn't trust me right now. Because like I read any piece of sales copy, there's like a wall up in my brain that like I know I'm being sold to.
Yeah.
And so I try to address that in a lot of my copies. Like obviously this is a sales letter, obviously this is a VSL, obviously there's a pitch here, obviously there's an offer. But before we get into that, like and like you want to go and address the things that they're thinking in the back of their mind, because it's gonna come out somewhere. It might be an objection on like, oh, I need to go talk to my husband before I buy this, or I need more time. I don't make decisions quickly, whatever. You want to eliminate those before they even get on a sales call. That's the goal. So like by the time people are coming into they're at the end of the funnel, like they're already sold. And so, yeah, the biggest thing is just like figuring out what is the doubt or the reason as to why they wouldn't trust whatever you're about to say. Because your promise is only as good as like the trust you've built before you make it.
Yeah.
So promise them the world, but if they don't believe in you and they don't trust you and feel like you're their friend, they're not going to buy it. And like that has to be authentic. You can't just like, say nice things or be generic to relate to someone and like expect them to trust you. You gotta be like, usually like self-deprecating humor is a good way to do it, or like addressing something that like is just obvious. Like they know they're being sold to. So addressing that is a great way to build trust. And yeah, I think just like being really confident in the offer itself will allow you to sell it more naturally. Because if you think about like an offer that like let's say you knew you had the cure to cancer, you absolutely knew it, it's this new thing, but you knew 1000% that it cured every single person that like tried it. And like a close relative had cancer. How hard would you work to convince them to take this new experimental drug that you 100% knew worked? Like you would go to the ends of the earth to get them to the drug. And like that's how you have to sell yourself. Like if you can't sell it like that, then you probably need to work on the offer. And you make sure it's something that you can get people results with. And then you can just sell it with like pure confidence. And I think that's like the best copies. Like when you just like have pure confidence in the offer and you know that like it would be wrong of you not to convince them to buy it.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. And it's funny because this is stuff that like sounds so obvious, but so many people struggle with like having the confidence in their offer, or, and if they don't have the confidence, like revisit it. What are the results you've actually gotten people? Like, what are the results that you can offer that actually does work, right?
And it does, like, you don't have to change someone's life with an offer. I think the best of offers are when you're just like 1 or 2 steps ahead of someone and you can just help them with what the most recent win you accomplished with. Like, that's what I did with copywriting with like my copywriting students when I was coaching last summer. Like it was always just like, okay, I just signed my first like 3 clients. Let me teach people how to sign their first. I wasn't trying to teach people how to scale a business to 100K because I hadn't done that. But I knew how to sign a client. I'd done it a couple times. And so I could then teach it. You don't have to be like a crazy expert. You just have to know a simple process to get a simple result. And if you can get someone to win in like, the first week, then like you're good. Like you're good to go. You want to get them a win as soon as possible. But yeah, I think people also like stress out about their offer and they think they've got to change the world.
Yeah.
And not true. Like people pay $5K to learn how to get a 6-pack in 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the frameworks you use when you're trying to write copy? So you start off with like a lot of the pain points, right? The emotional drivers. Then you go into some of the tactical stuff. And then is it just like a lot of storytelling to talk about clients you've done? Like how do you kind of build that trust and proof?
Yeah, I would say like the only framework I really use is like there's always a hook. There's always multiple hooks. And there's always a story. Like most emails I send have a story in them or something. Like it's almost always a story. Even if it's just like 2 sentences to like kind of like explain why I'm about to pitch. Like everything's justified. So every pitch, every bit of urgency, everything that I do to try and convince them to buy, there's a justification for it. So I'm talking about why they need to book a call in the next like 24 hours. I'm justifying that. I'm not just going to say because I only have 5 spots. I'm going to explain why. Because I also do XYZ. Like for me, I used to say I only have 5 spots because my full-time thing is writing copy for my clients. And that's what takes up like 8 hours of my day. So I can only open up 5 spots a month purely just because I don't have the time to do more. I hope like in the future I can, but right now I only have 5 spots. So if the link doesn't work, it's probably because the calls got booked. So try again next time. but like that's urgency that's genuine. And
Yeah.
like if you can justify every pitch and every bit of urgency, you build a lot of trust with the audience, and you can just be honest. I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing with copy is like you're not trying some secretive pitch and like, you know, to work some like mind warping power on people. Like, no, like just be genuine. I think a lot of the templates and the frameworks in copywriting kind of lead people astray because they put themselves in this box. So I don't really follow any of that. It's just like capture their attention, give them a reason to keep reading, give them a reason to trust you, and then actually like show them why this offer is going to help them. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And give them a reason to take action now, because if you don't have a CTA with urgency, they'll just never take action. So that's a big thing.
Yeah. So when you're writing copy, what does your editing process look like?
It's a good question. I usually try and just like brain dump first. So I like write a first draft that's super messy. I usually delete like half of it.
Yeah.
I'll like brain dump. I'll go do something else. So I've got like a ridiculous amount of tabs open. I'll just kind of bounce around for a bit, and then I'll come back to that copy, and then I'll rewrite it. I'll refine it. And then usually once I've got like a draft that I'm happy with, I'll send it to like Claude AI, my best friend, or ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is better now. And I'll send it, and I'll just like ask it for like some common like mistakes, or I'll ask it. Sometimes I give it a voice. So I create voices for clients. I'm like, based on this client's voice, which I'll use like YouTube transcripts, and I'll use hours and hours and hours of content to create a custom voice. I'll be like, does this sound like them? What are some phrases that I could include that are like common across all their transcripts? I'll see if there's any feedback there. Usually what happens right now, and I've got to fix my prompt so this doesn't happen, is like AI rewrites it, and then I have to read through it and just pull out like good things. Because I never want to submit, or I never like use copy that's AI written, because it's just like, it kind of just sucks. Like it's just like not visual, and it's not relatable, and it's not personable. It's just like generic. So you want to use AI more to do like research and feedback. But that's like the final step. And then I'll go and I usually do like one final rewrite of an email. Just email example. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you write the first draft and it's solid. Like if it's solid and it's under like 300 words and you're like, this is good, I'll like still post it sometimes. Like like it's something that like you grow confidence in like the writing over time, but like usually there's a couple drafts.
Yeah. And so you talking a little bit about like emails and stuff. It was actually one of your videos that taught me a lot about email segmentation and how important that is, and kind of tracking open rates and stuff like that, and funneling people into how often they actually and I've started kind of teaching that to a lot of my people as well, because I'm learning it, and that's been like a big game changer for a lot of people, I've noticed, because they're like, I've never heard of this before. Like it's like there's a lot of different digital marketing courses and stuff out there, and absolutely none of them talk about email segmentation. So I'd love to hear you kind of talk a little bit about email segmentation, how it works. I know you use Go High Level, which is a little bit more technical. I use that platform as well. So kind of like, I guess, the practical, like how to actually set it up, how that works, and all of those things.
Yeah, I use Go High Level purely just because like all the coaching programs are like on Go High Level, so all my clients use it. But like it's as simple as just like checking after every email, what's the open rate? Like that's the first metric you want to know. Like if you're split testing subject lines and trying to really gather feedback on your audience, you have to know what's actually getting opened. And like the content of your email doesn't matter if it's not getting read. So usually people are like, they focus a lot on writing a good email with a good CTA and good urgency, but then like they leave the last 5 minutes to write a subject line, when in reality that should be like 80% of the time is like spent on subject, because otherwise they don't open. And like an email that gets a 60% open rate and sucks on the like the actual body of the email sucks but has a CTA, and an email that has a terrible subject line gets like a 5% open rate and is amazing, is always going to get less conversions than the terrible email that had a 60% open rate. Like always. So it's like, that's the first thing you want to measure. And then you want to start like segmenting the list based on activity. So if like there's some people that are clicking the link every time and not buying, they should go on like active, but like maybe not warm, maybe like active, not warm segment. And you got to create a different marketing funnel for them. And then people that are clicking all the links and like they're buying, those people should go on like the hot lead list. Like that, when as soon as you have a new product, you send it to them, very direct, very simple email, short to the point. And then like you've got people that are just not engaging. So you should create like a re-engagement campaign where you give people a couple chances. Maybe you send 2 or max amount 3 emails. to a list of people that haven't engaged in the last like 6 months, even the last 2 months. And like you give them 3 chances to click a link or to reply to the email to if they receive emails. And I actually have a video about like re-engagement campaigns, but it's like, it's really simple. Like you just send out 3 emails. Like, do you still want XYZ result? And like the email could be 1 sentence long. It's like, hey, I noticed you haven't been active. Just wanted to double check if you still want XYZ before I take you off my list. If you do, just send this email and I'll keep you on. Otherwise, like no stress. I'll take you off so I don't spam you anymore. And like that's how you should kind of look at it. Like those are the main categories. You can get technical with it. You can like target people based on certain funnels they interacted with and certain funnels they haven't. But at the end of the day, like it's a marginal difference if you get super technical with the lists. Like I think you really want one that's like unengaged people, super engaged people that haven't bought, super engaged people that have bought, and you know maybe there's like also a segment of people that are like partially engaged, it's like majority. And you just tweak the CTAs a little bit. Some people maybe you give them some value. See if you can get them to just like click a link, not a buy now link if they haven't clicked. Some people, they're hot leads. You send them your crazy high ticket $15,000 mastermind link, and you get them on a call for that because you know they've bought everything else you sent them. But yeah, that's like the basics of it. Like you just want to measure the activity, which is super easy to do on a Go High level. You can see who's clicked. You can segment the list based on who, like what they've clicked, how recently they've clicked. And you always want to be like segmenting lists based on where they join from as well. Like if they've received a lead magnet versus if they just signed the opt-in form for your VSL after your VSL, that's like a way different kind of lead. So one of them gone through and actually studied your niche and like they've opted in for something and they're interested in it and they're probably a lot closer to a purchasing decision than that person who watched your VSL. It depends. Like, you know, it depends on like how your opt-in funnel works. If there's a VSL opt-in funnel, then like that, all things being equal, they're a hotter lead. If they haven't watched it, they might not be. But like, yeah, you want to measure where they came from and then like make sure you're just targeting them based on like their awareness level, which is like, you know, you probably know like that the different awareness levels, like problem aware, solution aware, aware, and you want to just make sure like you're nurturing them from that standpoint to the next level of awareness.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, like nobody talks about that, which is so bizarre to me because I'm like, I heard it from you and I'm like, why am I just now hearing about like email segmentation? Like it sounds like it makes so much sense, but yet I don't hear anybody else talking about it.
It's also, you'll burn your email domain if you don't. Like, you'll burn through, if you're emailing people that aren't clicking links and aren't even opening it and are, you know, potentially marking you as spam, like, and you're continuing to email them, like your domain is going to just get destroyed and then you'll land in spam. And like you're gonna have to start a new domain, and it's such a process. Go warm up the domain, actually a good reputation. Like it's just not worth it. Like I've had clients that spent like weeks and weeks and weeks and like so much like time invested in warming up their campaign, but like they blast it out to the wrong people, and then it just burns their email. Like I had a client that bought a list of emails, which is always kind of a red flag because they don't know who you are and they're probably not going to open, and half the emails are fake. And he sends it out to like over 10,000 people, just got the email warmed up, just got everything going. And like I'd gone through the whole warm up, so I'm invested in this. Like I had to tell them and he sent the email out, didn't tell me they were bought, 75% bounce rate, which meant people just deleted, or not deleted, but like put us on a blacklist that we will never be delivered to anyone's inbox if we send an email. So the entire warm up phase is just out the window. Like you need a new domain, which is why you want a subdomain, not the main domain, to be your sending email. But like, yeah, it's chaos if you send to the wrong people and you just like you don't like focus on the people that are. It's also like a waste of money because you do spend money to send emails. So like, you probably want to invest into like there's a feature on Go High Level where you can like verify emails as well and make sending to verified contacts. That's worth investing into, and just like make sure you're not wasting money sending emails to people that are never going to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So there was one more question that my membership had asked, which was, what's your day-to-day look like? You know, as a super busy copywriter with a team now, I believe you have a team, right?
Yeah.
What does the day-to-day look like?
Yeah, I've taken a lot more of like the actual delivery back onto my plate just because I want to be more invested into that as I kind of build out the systems. So basically like the day is I am like it's changing a little bit day to day. I'm not someone of like a strict routine, but like everything is just work. So it kind of balances out to be the same. But morning, I usually work on some stuff. I work on emails and I send out outreach, or I'll like respond to clients and stuff in the morning, first hour, and work on content in the first half of the day. Because the nice thing right now is that I'm not like, the time zone means that all my calls are like after 2 p.m. So the morning really a time when like I'll do client research, I'll write like content for them. I'll like work on stuff that's like deep work for my own content, my own funnel. And then in the afternoon, that's when like calls start. So I'll do like consulting calls or client calls or sales calls from usually like, it's later in the day, honestly. It's like 4 p.m. to like 9 p.m., sometimes a little later. And then in between that, I'm just like working on usually a lot of responses and creating content. But yeah, like my day-to-day changes based on like who I'm writing for. And like sometimes it's consulting, sometimes it's sales. So yeah. And then I'm doing about an hour of like content for myself every day. So that's usually like later in the day as well, between calls. And then gym is either like in the morning, if I have nothing like going on. I spend about like an hour and a half working out every day. So it's like run to the gym, work out, run back, depending on like when that kind of fits into the schedule. And I've optimized like meals is all like pre-made. Everything's just kind of like stay at home and work, except for coffee. So I'll go walk and get a coffee. But yeah, that's pretty much the day. I usually stay up like pretty late, and like I'll work on some like random things for my own funnel at like 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. and like go to bed at 12:30. Wake up at like 7:38, and yeah, that's pretty much the routine right now.
Love it. Work, work, work.
It's fun. And like the cool thing is like once you're running your own thing, you've got so many different things to work on. You've got content. You've got like actual coaching students if you're in the coaching niche. You've got like your funnel. You've got the technical back end stuff. You might have like, employee calls. Like I'm not currently doing like the team calls because like I was doing so much like team call stuff and it was like honestly taking away from the actual delivery. So find a balance there. But like eventually you're gonna have a lot of like time invested in just training people, which is absolutely a good investment of time. But like it makes it fun because you're not just like sitting at a desk doing the same thing like, within a job. You're doing different things, you're bouncing around, you're creating your own schedule, and ultimately like it all's like I think a good reminder, like if you're ever like looking at your schedule and feeling burnt out, is like you chose this. Like your business, like you signed up for this.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's what I remind myself of when I'm like, oh, this is like there's so much to do today. I'm like, but I signed up for this. So yeah.
Love it. So we'll put your link in the description for this video as well. But is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I think like one of the things we said that like probably like 30 minutes ago is like the biggest thing is like it's easier than you think. It's simpler than you think. It takes work and it takes reps, but like luck is just like a matter of how many times you try. It like everyone has the same amount of luck, like potential or luck allocated to them, like however you want to look at it. Like it's literally just putting yourself in the right place enough times, getting on enough calls, getting in enough podcasts, getting in enough events or whatever it is. Like, and by the way, all of that stuff can be virtual. Like you can join masterminds and events and you can do all of it free as well. But you want to get around people that have the ability to put that luck in front of you. Get around people that are doing what you want. So like you're closer to that luck. And then like it's a matter of time before it hits you.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right.